my name is Danny Burke. This is Most Amazing Top 10, and I'm going to whisper for the whole of this video because everything is going to be very, very secret. Actually, that's already getting kind of annoying, so I'm going to stop. But we are still going to be talking about secret things that governments have tried to hide from us over the years, but the truth will always get out. Now, I know some of you guys out there will want me to be telling you some actual government secrets that haven't been exposed yet, but I'm afraid to say they wouldn't tell me. Yeah, I sent them a nice email asking for their secrets, but they just said no. Oh well. So instead, guys, let's get into ones we do know about, ones that have been exposed, with our top 10 government secrets. And we're going to start things off like we always do with our number 10, Project MK Ultra. Project MK Ultra is also referred to as the CIA's mind control program. Government experimenters used techniques ranging from mind-altering drugs like LSD to isolation, verbal abuse, and even torture on people to see if they could control them to do their bidding against their own will, even if it meant killing themselves. It took place across America and Canada from 1953 to 1964, and there have been countless horror stories from those years. The CIA actually spent almost $20 million using their abusive and drug-filled techniques, sometimes even drugging its own CIA members. In 1973, the CIA director ordered all documents relating to Project MK Ultra to be destroyed. Now, nobody to this day has actually been held accountable for what happened, and some people even suspect that the project continues under a new name. At number 9 now, we have the Watergate Scandal. On August 9, 1974, President Nixon became the first and so far only president of the United States to resign from office. It came after the Washington Post published a story that 5 burglars who had broken into the headquarters of the rival Democratic Party at the Watergate building weren't just your ordinary burglars, they were actually part of President Nixon's own team. It turned out they were actually trying to steal documents and wiretap phones to help Nixon win another election. Well, they got what they wanted and Nixon was re-elected. And he spent the next 2 years trying to cover up what had happened. He even bribed people and fired those who tried to speak out against him, but you can't hold back the truth. And when the public finally did find out, Nixon was forced to resign as president, despite never actually admitting that he gave the order. Alright, coming in at number 8 now, we have Operation Paperclip. The year after World War II ended, President Truman gave the green light to an operation to evacuate Nazi scientists and engineers and bring them to the United States to work for them. It's actually thought that up to 1,500 of these people were resettled in secret and given new identities, fake employment records, and any mention of Nazi war crimes were removed. Famous rocket scientists like Wernher von Braun, who developed the V-2 rocket, worked for years within the US military, and he even went on to help NASA develop the Saturn V rocket that took astronauts to the moon. Something doesn't feel right there. Next up at number 7, we have Project Sunshine. Now, during the 1950s, a lot of countries tested nuclear weapons. The radioactive material from these tests spread around the world, and a US-led commission wanted to see what effect this was having on people's health. Here's the gruesome catch though, the samples had to be taken from dead bodies for testing, and the younger the better. Essentially, the project started a global body snatching scheme which saw them gather 1,500 bodies to examine, many of them babies or young children. They were taken from everywhere, from Australia to Europe, and often without any consent from the parents. The project was declassified in 1959, and the body snatching was hopefully brought to a complete halt. Coming in at number 6 now, we have Churchill and the UFOs. Now, during World War II, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Winston Churchill, started getting reports from British fighter pilots of encounters with mysterious aircraft with incredible speed and dazzling lights. They called them Foo Fighters, but we know them today better as UFOs. On one occasion, a pilot was returning from a mission when he said he was followed by a metallic UFO that apparently hovered noiselessly near the plane. Was it aliens? Who knows? Was it a German secret weapon? Either way, Churchill wasn't taking any chances. He allegedly told everyone involved that the sightings were to be kept totally secret from the public for 50 years to avoid mass panic. So it's well over 50 years since then, so can we panic now? Next up at number 5, we have spying on John Lennon. During the 1970s, after the Beatles had broken up, John Lennon became an outspoken peace activist who wrote a number of powerful anti-war songs. His comments and songs about America's foreign policy and the wars angered a lot of people within the US government who saw him as a threat to national security and their plans. They'd already seen how music could start a revolution, spread a message and an idea, so they tried to stop him. Not only did they terminate his visa and try to get him deported, they actively spied upon him. The FBI monitored his every move, his concerts, and even rated his music. They also tracked the movements of Yoko Ono's daughter. When the truth finally did come out, the public saw the FBI had a whopping 281 pages of files on him. Alright, moving on to number 4 now, we have the Tuskgegee syphilis experiment. This was a 40-year-long study done by the US Public Health Service that started in 1932 and involved studying African American men who had syphilis to help find a cure for them. Except when penicillin came along as a cure, they intentionally didn't treat them and instead let the men degenerate with the symptoms of it, with tumours, paralysis, blindness and often death. One of the doctors was quoted as saying, "We have no further interest in these patients until they die." Yeah. Some of the men didn't even know they had syphilis. They were literally left to die by their own government, who were more interested in studying the disease than actually helping them. Coming in number 3 now, we have the Snowden Leaks. In June 2013, the scandal broke when Edward Snowden, a former associate of the CIA, revealed how the American government was spying on its own citizens by collecting the telephone records of tens of millions of people. Soon after, it got worse when it emerged that the NSA had access to the servers of 9 internet companies, including Facebook, Google, Microsoft and Yahoo, as part of their online surveillance program known as PRISM. In total, they were monitoring 600 million communications every single day. Some of the spying and hacking even took place in Europe and China. It came out that the NSA had actually been listening in on the phone conversations of 35 world leaders. When Germany's leader Angela Merkel accused the US of listening to her phone calls and other Germans, the White House did not deny it. Next up at number 2, we have Operation Northwoods. In the 1960s, some members of the United States government saw communist Cuba as such a threat to its security that it drew up a plan for the CIA to commit acts of terrorism against American civilians and military targets. They would then blame it on the Cuban government and use it to justify a war against Cuba. Yeah, this was actually an idea someone in government had, for the American government to attack its own people. Operation Northwoods would have involved hijackings and bombings and the planting of evidence to make it look like a Cuban attack. The plan was brought to President Kennedy for approval and thankfully he was like, no, you can't do that at all, that's mental, although the rest of the world wouldn't even hear about it until it was declassified in 1997. And finally at number 1 now, we have Area 51. Now we could all sit here and speculate about what the famous Area 51 is used for at the moment. Is it a testing site for cutting edge military technology? Is that tech being adapted from alien technology? Are the remains of a crashed UFO being kept there? Who knows? That's kind of what has got everyone so crazy for Area 51 over the years, the secrecy. It's been totally off limits to civilians for decades, and even for those with a high enough clearance to get near it, there are no weapons or cameras allowed. In fact, it's still such a big government secret that they didn't even acknowledge it existed until 2013, even though you can see it on Google Maps and stuff. Now although we do now know some information about what it was used for in the past, all conspiracy theorists have about what it's being used for now is that it exists. That's all the government has told them, which is, well, it's a start, but they kind of already knew that bit. Well guys, that was your top 10 government secrets. Which one did you think was the most interesting or shocking? Do you have any better ones? If you are a government and you're watching this, perhaps you have some secrets you'd like to share with me and send in so we can maybe make a part 2. Who knows? In the meantime, thanks as ever for watching Most Amazing Top 10. My name is Danny Burke. You can find me on Instagram somewhere down there, and I'll see all you guys in the next one.